What happens when you stick a mic in the middle of thousands of beer lovers, give us all-day access to IPAs, toss in a few slightly buzzed beer nerds, and a guy who started his own brewery? You get this episode of Are You Shitting Me? Recorded live at the Naperville Ale Fest, where the pours were strong, the pretzel necklaces were tight, and the stories were even better. Hey everyone, this is Brett, co-host of Are You Shitting Me? We recently went to the Naperville Ale Fest, and we're right next to the Blind Corner Brewery tent. We sat down and spoke with several other attendees, but we were lucky enough to spend a little time with Eric Hobbs, founder of Blind Corner Brewery in Naperville. This episode is our discussion with Eric. Whether you're a craft beer junkie or just here to listen to my velvety voice, you're going to want to hear this one. Let's roll it.
What was the beer that you were drinking when you said, I can do Blind Corner?
Ooh, good question. You know what? It wasn't like a specific beer. It was the fact that when we set out to remove some guardrails from our own ambitions at Solemn Oath when we were building Hidden Hand, and we said, we're going to just let JP, who's a very creative, very culinary-focused brewer, just do what he really wants to do with a beer. Take the cost structure away and say, let's just design a beer that we really love first, and then we'll see how we make it work from a distribution and cost model. Once we substantiated and legitimized that that was going to work, that made me think no matter what I did from that point forward, I can do this again, as long as we keep it controlled, small, and self-distro. That I would actually say if there was a beer, it was 50,000 comments, because that was, I think, the beer that we all realized, like if we just made a beer that we knew would go crazy and buzzworthy, we're like, yep, this validates what we thought was true.
You were explaining to Chuck and I the other day your history in the brewing industry.
Yeah.
Will you just give a quick recap for us, and how'd you get started?
Like all the way to the beginning?
No, you choose.
All right, we'll do a quick 10-year coverage. 3. So like distributor to small regional brewery to Goose Island. And so the Goose Island piece was really where I fell in love with craft, because at Goose Island, John and Greg Hall really embraced the idea of acting like an owner, whether you were a guy on the street like I was, just opening new accounts and managing wholesale, or you were a brewer. You owned your piece, you designed the success story, and then you brought knowledge and education forward as in the form of passion to sell, which was great, which I loved. And then I was like, all right, dude, I really need to start making beer and figuring out how to do this too. And it was then that I really decided I wanted to think about building my own brewery. I left Goose, went to Anheuser-Busch for a short stint of about a year and a half, before starting Penrose for a couple years, Solemn Oath for 8 years, and now most recently Blind Corner.
That's pretty interesting history. I was listening yesterday, too, as you talked about that. It was pretty impressive. But you just mentioned Anheuser-Busch.
Yeah.
Tell me something that you learned from there, for them being around as long as they have, that you maybe wouldn't learn from some of these more independent crafts or someone like Goose or something like that. I'm just, like, as an old dog in the game, I'm wondering, like, do they still have something that they would offer someone that's up and coming?
So what I realized with Anheuser-Busch is they're such a strategic company where they're playing a game of chess around the globe.
Yeah.
Versus those of us that are playing like even a national or regional or even local game. They're balancing strengths with like business units around different continents. And they're going to feed momentum very creatively and specifically with products, innovation, pricing, package sizes, and configurations, things like that, where the level of thought and expertise at that company is astounding. I was entering that with this just, dude, I'm a hustler. Dude, I loved it. I had a great time in that 18 months. Yeah. I have told people this story countless times. The most intelligent boss I've ever worked under was this gentleman named Kevin Feehan. He is and still is, I think to this day, the regional vice president. The man has the ability to recall so much detail throughout a 5-state region, whether it was like, hey, why are our Busch Light 30-pack sales soft this week versus previous year? Hey, Don, didn't you have an ad down at this collection of small grocery chains down in southern Indiana that you don't have this year? Is that the reason we're soft there? And the dude would just recall this, like, how do you know all this? You have 5 states with countless brands, countless pack sizes.
Yeah.
And
that's just the type of people you work with. They're just so damn smart, and they're so dialed in, and they work very hard. So say what you want about the big bad brewer, they hire badasses, and they're all good at what they do.
For sure. Their distribution alone is staggering.
It's interesting, too, because they control some of their distributors. Anheuser-Busch owned distributors, and then they have the network of those that are generationally established as well, and those that have consolidated, and they're doing their best to manage all that, and that's, state-specific, and legislation's different at different areas, and you have to manage it differently, and you can support it differently in different ways. The thing about Anheuser-Busch is it's just such a giant machine that if you're not good at what you do or you don't put in the work, you'll stand out quickly and you'll be removed immediately.
Yeah.
I think, honestly, like looking back at my entire career, my wife has said this on more than one occasion, just the way I work, I put in the hours, I put in the work. I think demonstration of that, I think could have done really well in that environment, but I don't know that would have fulfilled me the same way that,
Sure.
building and creating with craft breweries has, but I do sometimes wonder, hey, what if I stayed there? What if I would have stuck around for that? I don't know.
So I want to touch on what you just said, too, as far as distribution. For working with somebody like Anheuser and working for somebody like Goose, now you have your own brewery.
Yep.
Can you elaborate on what it is with that distribution struggle that it is for the smaller guys to become broadliners?
Yeah, I think there's probably two parts to this answer.
Yeah,
First part is like a craft brewery that enters the market as, hey, I'm going to make this great beer, and then somebody's going to sell it for me. If you enter the market with that mindset, you're probably at a significant disadvantage right out of the gate. Because if you don't know where it's going to go and you don't know what styles you need to make to meet demand, and you don't know what package sizes to put on that are going to align with what bars and restaurants are looking for and at the right price, that means you're probably not in a position to do an effective job self-distributing.
Okay.
You're going to need somebody to tell you how to do that. The other challenge there, and this is part two, is if you don't know that and you need a distributor to tell you that, there's been so much consolidation over the past 5-10 years in local distribution that some of the ones that were more craft-friendly, like the early days of Windy City that was owned by two brothers,
Yep.
it was the Bob Collins era.
They were huge in
They were
distribution.
great, and
Yeah.
they were so supportive. They had so many little things that were meaningful, right? Each one of their reps, they made them become a cicerone. So not only did they understand beer, that they were experts in beer. They would collectively support each other's events. So they were brand builders and brand ambassadors for local craft and the regional and national craft that they represented. And then something even as simple as they owned their own keg float. So us at Penrose, when we started, for example, we signed with them. Not because I felt like I couldn't do the self-distro thing, but it was way before self-distro was even like a reality. I just thought distro was the way. But they had a keg float, and they would give us kegs to use and fill and give back to them so that they knew they would have the product available in the package sizes that they want to then sell to local market. It was just a very clever way of them supporting local breweries, because otherwise you had to own your float, which was a big cash expense out early on. It's an asset too that you can lose very easily because it goes away for 3 months at a time and you get it back 3 times, 4 times a year. And so you spend a lot of money to do that, and they would just be like, we'll give you kegs, use ours, and then when you grow out of it, year or 2 years down the road, we'll hand it off to the next craft brewery. So those distributors were there 10 years ago, 2013, 2014, 2015, but then they were bought out. And then, the version of Windy City right now within the Chicago beverage, which is just different. You got to do a lot of the legwork yourself. Get your placements at retail, support your on-premise, chain programming, marketing, spend big dollars, and they will match it, certainly, because they're a big company willing to invest, but it's just very hard for a small startup brewery or even a brewery that's small and been around 10 years to navigate that and be effective if you don't put the energy and effort into aligning with their goals, because then you're always just fighting against your own wholesaler.
So
Does that make sense?
Yes, yeah.
There's been a lot of growth in the non-alcoholic market or really low ABV market. Is that just a trend, do you think, or is that...
No, I think that's a lifestyle shift.
Yeah.
I do. I think our roommates, Go Brewing, are a solid step ahead of the curve with meeting people with world-class quality product at a time when people are probably not drinking as much. We know that just from the numbers. And giving them an alternative to what they've known and loved for a long time. If you're a craft beer drinker that maybe just can't drink beer anymore, or can't drink period, but you just don't want to lose that connection, Go gives you a pretty great option in just about any style you're looking for to drink beer that is not going to have a negative impact on your health or your lifestyle. And I think that's more common. And I embrace it because we have that new beer that we make called Sub 4. We make a double hazy IPA that's 3.9%, 125 calories. I know that we're not going to be. I don't have the same ambitions of going non-alc that Joe and the guys at Go Brewing have, but I do want to downshift into this world of, hey man, those that have been chasing hoppy beers forever, like myself and like my business partners, we want an alternative as well. We want something that we can drink 3-4 of that feels and drinks like a traditional double IPA that doesn't kick our ass at 8.5%.
Is there a trend that you can see coming in the industry that is going to dethrone IPAs?
People keep saying that, but we just keep selling more IPAs.
It doesn't seem like there's an end in sight.
I mean,
Yeah, I don't want to cut you off, but we have a conversation about this all the time and about the IPAs. And it's crazy to see where they take the IPAs. We were talking about this in a general sense yesterday. How many hops can I throw in this? Or what else can I throw in here? And I'm like, I mean, me as a novice, I wonder, like, how do you guys come up with what you're going to put in that? And if you think it's going to be appealing, is it like a crapshoot?
No, it's not a crapshoot anymore.
No?
We know what we're getting when we write a recipe. And the one thing I will say about IPAs, you can fuck up an IPA. I can say that, right? You say shit.
Yes, you can say whatever you want.
Say whatever you want.
You can fuck up an IPA, and the thing about working with a guy, thing about working with a guy like JP, he's just such a good recipe writer, and he's very thoughtful with how he balances flavors, aromas, mouthfeel, and the overall structure of a beer, and then he's going to create complementary experience. So it's not always the same. And yes, a lot of hazy IPA to just a basic beer drinker might taste very similar, but if you know your hops and you've had a bunch of different ones, you might be able to discern the difference. And when we describe the way we use them too, it can be a different experience each time. But I will say this, like, as somebody who's been working in this industry for a long period of time, I do like to see things like lagers having a bit more of a like a seat at the table in more of a big way, because I love great lagers.
I request. Can you bring the lagers back, man?
I don't think the lagers left. I think they just got down.
Yeah.
No, they're popular now. Think about this. Like, we have, and we're lucky to have, one of the greatest lager breweries in the country in our backyard. Downers Grove, Goldfinger, Tom Beckman makes. And Jeremy. Let me say Jeremy too, because he is an integral part of that as well. But he makes some of the, if not the best lagers in the country.
Okay.
And I love seeing that. And I know oftentimes, and I tell this to our crew and we talk about it, you put one of our lagers on at a place that Tom is doing really well with his, or there's a good presence of Goldfinger, don't even bother. Don't waste your time. You're going to lose that battle.
No, that's all they do, right, is lager.
All he does.
Right.
But he does it with such a strong focus on tradition and process and respect for what he's really interested in seeing the end result being, that you got to have so much respect for that. I think lagers, you can see it in just the way, like, bigger breweries like Revolution or Three Floyds, for example, like drinking Cold Time or drinking Three Floyds Deluxe Lager.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
They're entering it like we're making a play against the big domestic brewers or domestic lagers, like a Budweiser or a Bud Light or a Coors Light, that type of thing. Where Tom Beckman's just making it straight for love and passion of traditional lager brewing. So they're there, they're here, they're present, but even he would tell you that the rate of sale on a lager 4-pack on the shelf at a bottle shop or a Binny's is probably still, if I looked at the numbers, is going to be lower than most of my IPAs. And if we're turning over new IPAs with new hop combinations and new experiences, like, you get a lot of people that still want to try something new. So that's the rub, that's the balance.
I think there's a whole I still think that the younger generation is not. They're more adept to IPAs and things like that. I don't think that they're.
You say younger, and I'm going to have to say, can you tell me what that means, sir? Because I don't think younger means what you think it means.
I would say maybe early to mid-20s.
I don't agree.
No, you think?
I don't even think they're drinking beer.
Lagers?
I don't think they're drinking.
Well, I think that's definitely part of it. Like we just talked about, like mocktails in non-alcoholic beers and things. That's definitely a trend, and I don't think that's going away because people don't want to be like their parents, and that's what whatever. However you want to say that it is. But I think that there is a generation that's grown up more. Maybe we'll just say more in the past 10 years that are more accustomed to drinking an IPA, and then they won't go to a lager.
I would say even those that are maybe entering with craft now.
Yeah.
Or even, say, 5 years ago.
Yeah.
I think the IPA experience is still there and present and relatively strong. And I think it's always subjective based on what you think of when you think of what's strong and where does it work. that's all, again, you could dice that up in a million different ways.
Sure.
But if I was just to say, like, young people, for example, when I say anybody that's of legal drinking age to 28 or 29, I think we are struggling to meet them where they are in their life. I don't think they think of alcohol the same way that we did when we were
agree
that
with you
age.
on that. Yeah.
And as trends are going that direction, and there's wellness, and there's active lifestyle, and there's other considerations, there's THC beverages, there's these cannabis beverages,
CBDs.
and all
Have
that
you
stuff.
guys ever considered doing any brews
We're
like
looking
that for
at
you?
some possible distribution of it because we do have, obviously, a distribution license. I would welcome the distribution of it, but I don't necessarily want to make it right now.
Yeah.
Also because Go Brewing makes their own, and I don't necessarily want to jump in that.
Okay, I
It's
got
not
you.
where we're at. But I will say that I think that's a big part of what we're dealing with as a beverage experience. This new evolving drinking in this social culture that we have is changing, and all I'm trying to do is figure out where I can meet it.
Can you tip us off on any big secrets?
So we've got a new product coming out. It is a barrel-aged hard seltzer.
Okay.
We put hard seltzer into a barrel like you would a barrel-aged beer, 12%. It picks up the spirit character, picks up flavors and aromas of the oak, and then we use it to make a cocktail. So we have a canned cocktail coming out next week called Bad Alice. It's a tiki cocktail. It was brewed in collaboration with our friends at Bad Alice, a bar in Geneva, and it's a Helikalani. So think about a Mai Tai meets a rum punch, but we use a bourbon-based seltzer cocktail, and it is delicious.
I'm in. Sounds great.
But it's also 9% alcohol, so it's like a traditional cocktail.
Yeah.
So I know that what I see happening too with younger drinkers that aren't drinking as much or as often is the experience I feel like they're into is really high quality and uniqueness with the experience. So if I can do something like this, I feel like we can meet them at that space.
Yeah.
And we don't have to sell a ton of it to be successful.
And you can capture
And it's
a whole
part
new
of it's
demographic.
similar to what we've been doing with beer and blending over the years. And you look at how people have blended wild beers that have lived in barrels for months, years into this finished product of a sour or wild or acidic beer. I don't see this being wildly different. It's just maybe a little bit less cool because it's seltzer, but I don't know. It's no different than taking the base of a gin or a vodka, putting it away for a while, and it's the same kind of white lightning. So we're playing with that type of stuff because as a brewer, as a distributor, I need a bunch of tools in the toolbox to go to retail and provide good quality product with great service.
Right.
And have a meaningful relationship that provides value to our retail partners. If we can do that, I think we can do that in any form. We will be successful.
Okay.
Have you ever felt at any time that you're just brewing something because you know that people will drink it? I know that's part of the business. You want to sell it, but you're like, I don't want to do it, but I'm going to do it.
I think everybody would answer that question yes if they were being honest.
Yeah.
Because you can't possibly want to drink all the damn IPAs that we make. But I can promise you this: like, there's the mindset of when everybody's got to get up and go to work every day, and you want to do the things you want to do. Like, how important is it to just only be passionate about it and do the things that are absolutely the most like creative and artistic and artisanal, versus the things that are going to keep this thing moving, keep the lights on, keep our families fed. We're a group of 5 people. Every one of our employees today is out working. We have 2 here. We have 2 at Morefest up in Huntley, and we have Jordan running the tap room, which is where Zach and I are going to go after this. So we are doing the things that we need to do so that everybody gets a fair slice of the pie and everybody is living a good life. So, of course, we're going to make some things that we don't necessarily want ourselves, but I don't know that any brewery worth their weight is going to be able to answer that question without saying that. Right? You have to make things that you know people are going to want.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is a business at the end.
Yeah, I was just going to tag on to that question for you as a brewer, as long as you've been doing it. Obviously, there's things that you're not as passionate about. Are you ever surprised or you're like, I can't believe that we're actually brewing this and this is actually the trend right now and it's caught on? Do you have a couple of those in mind over the years?
No, because like I can wrap my head around the creative experience in a different way because I'm not the guy designing the label. I'm not the guy writing the recipe. In fact, even in my former life, in my last 8 to 10 years of managing brewing businesses, it's like the less sexy part of you put the puzzle together and you put the pieces together.
Yeah.
But there is a certain amount of creative fulfillment there that I feel like really passionate about. And when you see something that you know you can do well and you put the pieces together and you see the finished product, and I think like City Water is a good example. We released that product in 2019. We were being told by our local wholesaler, wait to release it to the spring of 2020. Wait. No rush to get this out. I was like, you know what? We're ready right now. We're going to jump. So in November of 2019, we released this hard seltzer called City Water with like rats and possums and city streets signs on it. And Jordan killed the artwork and JP nailed the recipes. And we got Whole Foods to bite right away. And we stole this marketing campaign with the Nights They Stole Christmas and a Q101 sponsorship. And we launched it. And think about the timing I just said. That was November of 2019. Guess what would have happened if we would have waited to spring of 2020?
Yeah.
The world shut down.
Yeah.
Guess what carried a ton of weight for us through COVID in to-go sales and off-premise sales? This brand new product that just happened to be ready right when the world shut down. And I look at that and I'm like, dude, does anybody think seltzer's sexy? I don't know. Probably not. But when you put all that together and you see this net result of what came of it that really helped that business get through, and to this day, I saw City Water pouring here today, I still feel good about that.
Yeah.
Right? So, like, I don't drink a ton of seltzer, but it's cool to see that type of stuff provide enjoyment and fulfillment to those that do.
All right, let's get personal for a second.
Uh-oh.
What was the first beer that you can remember drinking or trying?
Oh, shit. The first beer, easy. Old style. Stolen out of my dad's fridge. I would take them after basketball to my buddy's house. After we, lost a basketball game, I'd steal. The best part is, my dad kept them in a drawer, so I would take them out of the back of the drawer, and I would drink these shitty-ass beers and
Warm?
eat, oh, no, they were in the fridge.
Oh,
they
in
were
the fridge. Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, not like a dresser.
In the fridge drawer. I should have been more specific.
Okay, I gotcha.
And I'd take them to my buddy Mike's house, and we'd, order pizzas and drink 3 beers each. And I just always thought beer tasted skunky as shit. Because I thought about this after the fact. My dad would just get beer and put it in the front of the drawer. So anything in the back was just old as fuck.
Yeah.
So I would be drinking those, but old style. Old style.
It's like
Before they pasteurize it, right? Before
no-name liquor stores that don't rotate their product. They got
Yeah.
crappy stuff.
Yeah, that happens.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Always check your code dates.
all right, so how do you personally know that you've had too much to drink? What do you do? Karaoke, dancing,
Oh, man.
get loud.
You know what? I feel like I do operate with a certain amount of awareness because of just the position I'm in and have for a long time. But if I've been overserved, you're going to see me getting very touchy. I'm going to put my arm around you. I'm going to be like, brother,
Come on, buddy.
listen, I love you. I just get
Oh,
very
you're the love
affectionate.
guy.
I get very affectionate, and I just want to affirm that, you know what, you mean a lot to me. So anybody that's very close to me, they get all the love, even more so when I've been overserved.
All right. That's nice.
Right on.
All right.
Not too handsy. Let's just draw that line right there.
Just for the
Just
record.
shoulder level, maybe a little bit around the waist.
Shoulder level.
We'll see. Yeah.
No butt grabbing? Thanks. All right. What's your biggest beer-related regret?
Beer-related regret?
Either professionally or personally. Everyone's got a personal one, I think.
Okay, so here's the thing. Anytime you make beer and you let brewers create the names, you're always just running the risk of them making something really good and then killing it with the name. JP brewed a beer, like a Saison, and God, I'm going to blank on the name, but anytime you reference something like the word yeast in the name, people are just turned off by the word yeast. Who doesn't? It's the same thing as when you use you reference lactobacillus or pediococcus, which are technically souring bacteria. But as soon as you call it bacteria, people are like, wait, there's bacteria in my beer? God, what was it? Something in the Yeast Street Band. He was referencing Bruce Springsteen. We sent it out east to one of our distributors, blank on it. But I remember thinking, this is a bad idea. We shouldn't do it. I'm not kidding. Weeks went by. They sold 0 kegs.
Oh.
It was just the worst name ever because we called it yeast and we allowed a brewer to name the beer. So that's up there.
So who usually does name the beer? And how does that?
Any brewery that I've ever worked for has a stable of names and references so that when you're going through the creative discovery of what are we going to do next? What do we want to think about? You've got things that are kind of boxed into hey, this sounds good for a lager, or even more specifically like a Pilsner or a Maibach or like a Doppelbock. And then you have a laundry list of things that are referencing hops or whatever. And then you have the things that are culturally relevant to you and your active lifestyle or not. But, that's how we operate. We have a boatload of names just in the ready, and then we try to pull things in that matter to us and seem relevant to the moment, the season, the style, and that's how we go with
And
it.
it all comes together.
Yeah.
Awesome. All right, so after this conversation, can we expect to see more loggers coming out of you then?
We do have an everyday lager, taper,
I tried,
Hellas Lager.
I tried
It
that
is our
yesterday. It was really
everyday.
good. Yeah, that was a
And
good beer.
for the places that embrace it, where I know that I'm not trying to sell more beer than Tom at Goldfinger, we're doing great. I don't think it's as good as Tom's Hellas Lager, but I think it's a really great Hellas Lager, so we'll keep making that. And we introduce lager when we can.
Yeah.
We had a Maibach recently. I know JP's working on a Pilsner recipe. We have ambitions to it, but you got to remember, too, with lagering, you got to take time, right? It takes way more time with tank. And because of how we operate as an alternating proprietorship, tank space and tank timing is probably one of our biggest challenges with managing as a brewery within a brewery.
Anything else you want to add to this?
No, this has been great.
Yeah, good turnout
Big
today.
love to Lou Dog and the Naperville Ale Fest crew, because this has been a hell of a day. You know, a few thousand people drinking our beer for the first time. We had a lot of people be like, "Where are you? Who are you?" That is all we want out of these things. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm glad the rain held off for us.
So am I.
turned out
to be a nice day.
A little bit of breeze, plenty of shade. It's been
a
awesome.
little more breeze would be good, but I'm happy with the way it turned out. Eric Hobbs, thank you for joining us. I
Happy to be
appreciate
here.
you spending some time with us.
Yeah,
I know you
thanks,
got a
Eric.
lot of work to do today. And
I got
tonight,
nothing left
so-
to do. We're going to pack up here shortly, and then we're going to go to the tap room,
Yep, there you go.
have a burrito, and listen to some live music.
Yeah, and thanks for getting us in.
Yeah.
Happy
Truly
to help,
appreciate
always.
it, man. Helped us out today.
Yeah, well,
Dude, your sandwich stacker was the greatest thing ever. You see how many breweries came over and were picking at that?
Yeah.
I had everybody up and down the side. I was like, we're gifted 25 sandwiches, so
Yeah.
come over and help yourself.
yeah, you're not going to eat them all now. Awesome.
Thanks,
All
man.
right, thanks again.
Cheers.